All right, guys. So we are back.
Yes,
Let me get the
sir.
full. Let me get the full frame
Yes,
here.
sir. There it
Everybody's
is.
good.
Everybody. Yes, sir.
We
We
got. We
back. Full
actually
in
got a full
effect.
house. It's gonna be a good one today. So I'm your host Trey Fowler. We got the man, the myth, Mike Boston, and then we have who we got?
Mike
Mike
Boston.
Boston Jr. Right. We have a special guest with us. That is Mr. Darius Charles.
Yes, sir.
All right, all right. So today, guys, we're gonna delve into biblical manhood. So to start off, first off, Mike, would you please introduce our guest? I think you probably know a little bit more about him than we do, as far as his walk, where he's going, and why he's even here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, again, let me say how glad I am to be here with all you guys tonight. I was thinking about this as we're preparing to come on. I have my biological son, Mike Boston Jr. I've got my judicial son in law, Trey Fowler. And now I've got my son in the ministry, Darius Charles, who recently professed to announce his calling to the gospel ministry. And he's relocated from Louisiana. He's here. He loves God. He's proven that. He's high for God. He's got a heart to minister to not just to millennials, but to all men. And so when he announced his calling, and we've been working on that, I just felt like it was a no-brainer that he would join my sons, if you will, in our podcast, and this one in particular about biblical manhood. So again, I'm glad to have you here tonight, man. I don't know, maybe you want to say something about yourself that I didn't make known.
No, first of all, man, I appreciate you guys. Extending the invitation and everything. I'll pay you that $20 for all the good stuff you said about
I
it.
told you 30, man.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, man. And like I said, it's just an honor to be here and just have this conversation with you guys and talk about biblical manhood, man. So I'm excited.
Yeah, likewise. So I just, I've watched you two gentlemen go from boys to men, so to speak, Tremaine and my son. And so here we are today as men talking about biblical manhood. And what I love about it, I believe the perspective that all you three are going to bring is going to help us reach, those different generation gaps and, communicate it in such a way to where even someone who probably don't know God or don't understand biblical manhood will at least understand manhood from this conversation.
Right.
Right. Okay. Hey, good intro. So, question for you, Mike. Biblical manhood. What is it? Why is it important? And what do we do with it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say this. We all kind of got some notes, and I want to make that known. We've looked at about 19 or 20 different conversations over the years I've had, and some articles that I've written and about biblical manhood. And so that's why I gave all of us those notes so we can kind of make this conversational. I wanted you to be able to look at it and extract from it, and then be able to explain. But there's so many ways I could explain biblical manhood, but I guess the way that I would explain it from this introduction tonight is simply living in the way that God has designed for the man to live, because the world has sketched and also have placed a responsibility or a definition of manhood that has probably emasculated the man and have made the woman more masculine. And so I want us to be able to look at it not from a dominant, subservient, view, but from a biblical view. What is God? When God created man and woman, what were his expectations? Because guess what? I mean, those are still his expectations today. But as you know, we've drifted from that because the world has so redefined, what a man is. And so from these conversations and these tidbits, I'm hoping tonight we'll leave here with some clarity on what God expected from us when he created man.
Right. So tell me this. Where would you like to start? Now you go through this on a weekly basis. You sit down with men on a weekly basis. You pour into them on a weekly basis. You've seen a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
For somebody watching, listening, this for the first time, where do they need to start as far as biblical manhood? Like, where point me in the right direction. I've come to your church. I'm lost, man wise.
Yeah.
I just need some help. Where do we start?
Yeah. I'm really hoping, Mike Jr., you'll jump in here real quick and save me. But I guess what I'd like to say is, you're right. I've been mentoring and discipling men for years. We meet weekly outside of Bible study, outside of church, and we deal with particular issues as it relates to manhood, his responsibility, how we are to live, how we are to serve God. And I do this because I believe, as it said in this third note, that spiritual reformation of society starts with the spiritual reformation of a man. If we want society to reflect, God's plan, then that reformation of society is going to start with the reformation of a man. And so I meet with men each week so that we will have some idea of learning what type of man we ought to become as it relates to being an example for our families, for the community, certainly for the church, and certainly, for this world. So when I talk about biblical manhood, again, it's God expectations of what a man is to do and how he is to function, not what the world expects.
Right. So we have 4 men here. Okay. We have pastor, we have financial professional, okay. We have realtor, okay. We have, I'm just in purgatory, I guess, with whatever I want to do, right? But I think each one of us has a certain level of accountability in our specific field. But when it comes to biblical manhood, how do we have that? Where do we get that accountability from, as far as being a man, doing the right things? Because we all know, Mike, as a realtor, there's certain things you have to do that you can't get by without doing. There's you're being accountable for yourself. When you need to go out and handle your business with a client, there are certain things that you have to do, right. And you keep yourself accountable, and you have other people that do keep you accountable. And then pastor, for you, for instance, you keep yourself accountable through mentorship as well. So somebody brand new, how do we get ourselves into an accountability situation?
I'm definitely shooting this one to you, Mike, because you've witnessed, and you, Darius, recently, come being part of the church. You saw, and what happens when a man comes out of church, whether he's a millennial man, whether he's a boomer, whatever. Y'all know we do what? We go after him. So I'd like to really hear you say what we do, and then maybe Darius, you say how it affected you when you joined the church. Mike, okay. You know what we do. Talk to him.
I guess speaking on to what we do, I want to hold off on that. I guess one, you always hear it's a conversation. Well, I'm a man, a man's gonna do what a man's got to do, or even one of my songs, I love After the Pain.
I don't know that one.
Okay, but when you go into it and you hear that people give excuses for a man, well, a man, at least he's working hard for you, so give him a pass. He might step out, but he coming home and he taking care of what he got to take care of, and that's true. We are men first. Like we're born sinners. Like we come in sinful, but that doesn't mean that's what we have to keep with. When you come with that accountability, as we have at our church, we have discipleship, and we have really, I think pretty much all of our men at our church are pretty nice. Like you can come in, you can talk to any one of them. They're gonna conversate with you, give you their phone numbers. Hey, if you need help changing the tires, so you got to grow that relationship, because with Darius first coming into church, there's no way I can just get on Darius. Hey, you need to make sure you do this and you do this, because. Again, we had this conversation kind of before. if you don't feel like it's coming from love, you're not gonna take it. You know.
Right.
And so and what I say, you know, you gotta learn to love a man, and that's weird because as men we don't tell each other we love each other.
Thank
you
you
know?
for saying that.
I actually, you know, I could say kind of more, I guess now my generation, but definitely the generation lower than me, I can see them doing that more often. Like, hey man, I love you, or you know, they don't have a problem, you know, expressing their feelings, you know. So for me, you know, it's once we grow that relationship and that bond, me and Darius, I'm not gonna tell you nothing I don't feel like, you know, that you can't tell me. You know, like we take correction. You know, back in the day, especially, even still now, you know, this age group versus the older age group. I can't go to, well, I'm about to say a church name. I can't go to some of these older Baptist churches and then say, hey, brother, you ain't acting right. You know, and I'm a younger person. But, you know.
What you doing?
Yeah, exactly. But when you build that camaraderie with one another, that discipleship, that brotherhood, I mean, you know, if I'm saying it to you, I'm not trying to judge you. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I'm just like, hey, brother, I see you stepping out. You know, you might want to get back in line, you know.
Right.
And I'll let Darius go from there. I don't want to.
Yeah. No, as you were talking, man, I was thinking yesterday, you know, I was in my hometown, and I've been with my wife. Monique and I have been married 8 years. We've been together 15 in August.
Okay. Wow.
I just told her dad yesterday I love him.
Wow.
Very first time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the relationship, but it's also the accountability aspect is you have to want it. You know what I mean? Like, you want me to talk a little bit about, you know, what I've experienced here at Conquerors, but you can't be in a sense, a half man, you know, wanting accountability. What I mean by that is that for the most part, a real man, you know, they want accountability. They understand accountability. They know it's going to make them stronger and everything else. But the ones that run from it, in my opinion, what I've been seeing, they're not really men. They haven't fully developed to a point where they see accountability as a tool or as a benefit, rather.
Yeah.
So that's but what I've seen. I thought about what you said about the car. You know, I remember when we came in like our second, third Sunday, you know, man, the battery died on us.
Yeah.
Man, we had all kind of guys just swarming around the car, you know, helping us out.
You remember what I told you? I said, that mean the Lord wants you to join this church.
Right. And it happened, you know. Right? So, but yeah, so the battery died on us, man. And we had so many men. Now, and if I'm going to be honest with you, like I said, I just told my father-in-law, after 15 years of being with his daughter, that I love him.
Yeah.
But it took me, I mean, I guess as a little boy, I told my dad I love him. But for the most part, I didn't grow with that manly accountability.
Yeah.
You know, so having those guys swarm around my car, if you'd have did that to me 5, 7, 8, 10 years ago, I'd have been like, man, this is awkward. I don't need all these guys around me helping me out.
Yeah.
Say,
and all
man.
this stuff. You know what I mean?
Hey,
But
man,
now- but now-
ain't that close, man.
Right. But as I've grown, you know, and I understand that the power of other men and being accountable to other men and, you know, having other people in your corner is a positive. You know, it's not nothing that's going to take it away. So what have I seen? You know, the accountability helps. You know.
So tell me this: why does it feel weird? Why do we feel uncomfortable when? I mean, like for instance, Mike, man, love you, dog.
Love you too, though.
Mike,
Hey, man.
hey man, yeah, but it took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Why does it take so long to feel that comfortable for you to be transparent, open with somebody, you know, that's not your wife, your girlfriend, or, you know, why does it take so long?
Yeah, well, you know, we all are born with that thing called pride.
Right.
You know, we all are born with that. I mean, that's inherent, that's natural in the nature of every, you know, person, not just men. And because we were born with that pride, what happens is, you know, we don't want to not appear to be manly, or as the world has defined being a man. And so, you know, we try to create our own space. We try to create our own identity. We try to create our own success. We try to create our own popularity, our own prominence. And then we want you to look at me, you know, as being successful. And pride builds all of that in. And so if you've been doing that for just say 25 years, you know, you're a 25-year-old male, and then you come come into an atmosphere like you just spoke of, Mike, well, now we're kind of locking arms together and we helping one brother fix, a car, man, it's a whole lot of walls built up right there that we've got to eventually get around. And it takes the surrendering to the word of God, understanding, your relationship as a brother, a part of other brothers, and that takes a while to answer your question. For us to surrender to that, because for all those years in our lives, we've been, we've built that wall up, and we don't want to let it down so that you can see my vulnerabilities or my flaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that word surrender, I think that's one that, it's not, we're in a war. Okay. We're battling.
Okay.
You surrender to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're designed to what? As men, we're designed to conquer.
Yes, sir.
So the fact that he put us in a submission, that just doesn't feel right, But as and I think that might be a spiritual maturity thing too. Exactly. If you've never had that conversation with your pastor or men's group, it does feel weird. Yeah. And I think this is not just for men. I believe, on the womanhood side too, is probably, just as impactful. So as we press on again, we got so many things to.
Can I touch
Go
on
ahead.
something real quick? So to piggyback on what Pastor said about pride, that's another reason why it's hard. But another thing I found that it's the focus too. So it's like if you looking at the world's definition of a man, it is hard to man up, if you will, and tell another man you love him. Mm-hmm. Spend some time with another man, because in truth, if we're going to be honest, the world doesn't paint a man like that.
Right.
The world, it paints a man as being hard, fighting. You as a kid, you fall on the ground, you scrape your knee up. Nah, get up.
Yeah, man. What you crying for?
Yeah. So you can't even be vulnerable nowadays. So I think if your focus is off, your affection to other men is going to be off as well.
Yeah. So go ahead, Mike.
And just to piggyback on all y'all said, I mean, you spoke to it. The perfect word, war. See, when you look at it, let's look at it military wise. Man, men learn to love each other and have each other's back when they go through war with each other. When they go into battle with each other, like, man, this man is side by side. But that takes training. Like, what happens before you don't just go straight to war.
That's my son.
Oh, Mike. Oh, Mike. Okay. All right, Miguel.
He didn't get that from his mama either. Yeah, that's my son.
That goes from being in the barracks together, in the rough, going through the hard stuff, going through the training, the rigorous day, nights, no sleep. And, and that's knowing that, man, I was standing by Darius, and we both went 2 nights in a row with no sleep, but he's still here with me to help me go forward. And that's where I say, like, if we're not sitting there, I guess again going through what they call a PT or going through training together.
Basic training.
Exactly.
I mean, that's where you just start. Is just basic training.
Basic training. And I was listening to this one guy. The first thing they teach you how to do in war is carry a dead body. When you go to the military, carry a dead body and unload and unjam your gun. They want to make sure, because you think you're going to be okay. Like, no, that you got to make sure you're ready to carry somebody back and unjam your gun, because somebody going to be shooting back at you. And so at the same time, if in the military they can leave no man left behind, why are we not doing that back home? So I think that's where it comes,
Yeah, I like that. I really like that analogy. I was taking it as you were speaking of a little deeper, because you're right. We are in a war, and one of the things, that we've got to understand, that we're on the same team, as you said, that we're accountable to each other. We're going to be there for each other, and he should be able to count on me. I should be able to count on him, because we are trying to go forward against the enemy. And we know, of course, certainly in this case, the enemy would be Satan. And so I think when we know our brothers got our back, then we're good. I used to say this all the time, and I still kind of say it every once in a while. Listen, if I'm in a foxhole with you fighting, and I don't see you shooting the enemy,
Oh, I got to shoot you.
I'm gonna shoot you, and I'm gonna tell him you got shot by enemy. Friendly. I mean, enemy. The enemy shot you. When the truth doesn't matter, it was friendly fire because man, I'm in the hole with you. We both getting shot at, and you're cowering. You know what I'm saying? And not, shooting at the enemy. Man, you're supposed to help me shoot at the enemy.
Yeah.
And that's what we should expect from each other. In this case, and the man case, we should, have each other's back in regards to, moving forward against the enemy who's trying to destroy our families.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how did we get so far off track as far as us as men not being able to love each other? And like where does it start? I mean, from let's even say, give me a little example of how what you did with Mike to start off. Like, we had, one of our last episodes, we talked about you poured into him by, how much you loved him, and there's a lot of people a lot of men gonna be listening to this and never heard their father say, I love you.
Yeah.
From a family standpoint, how do a man as a head of their household, head of the family, how do they take biblical manhood and become an effective headship in their family?
Yeah. It gets kind of real when you talk about that. I can't tell you
You got the secret sauce?
how many times that I remember my father saying he loved me
Yeah.
because I don't believe he ever said it.
Wow.
And because I knew I would remember it if he did.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to turn a young boy into a young man, into a godly man, into a godly husband. And I guess saying those words, he probably just said them back to me when he was, adolescent because, I love you. I love you too, Dad. Just get out of my way. Let me play Nintendo, whatever he was doing, But I think as he came to his own, went off to college and stuff like that, and he heard those words, and then I could hear him coming back from him. And I think he put together what I had been doing all those years, and he saw that now as love, and he understood it as love and not so much as an obligation. And so he began to give me some reciprocity, if you will, in return, some I love you back. And I think as he moved into growing into becoming a young man, he understood the value of that love. And I know for certain now that he is a husband and a father, he definitely understands the value of communicating that. And I believe because I didn't have it as a son growing up on the father, but then as I grew in the word, I understood the value of it. Then I tried to pour that into him. And here's the thing about it. I just got off before I came to this meeting. I was on a Zoom meeting with the leaders in our church. And one last thing I said to all them before we hang up was, hey, man, love you guys. Have a good night, And I it's not just a passing thing. It's a heart passion for them to know that, hey, man, I love you and I'm going to be here for you. And regardless to how that sounds, I need you to understand that, I have the love of Christ for you, and I'm going to go as far as I can go with you because I know that benefits us both.
Right.
The Bible tells us simply, says, how will you know that you are my disciples if you don't have what? Love one for the other.
Right.
Yeah.
So that key word, I think, out of that was value. I think a lot of us do not. We just hear it. We hear the words. We feel like we go through the motions sometimes saying I love you, but don't realize when another. It took a lot for. Think about it. If you said you didn't hear it as much from your dad, think how much value would have brought if you would have heard it. So So as we move through biblical manhood, like what are some other ideas, some other things that we should look at that are valuable in this, I guess, in this walk as far as biblical manhood?
Well, I want to broach something, and I think it's on the bottom of the second page. It says biblical manhood, Ephesians 6 and 10. I like to say this because the little thing I said that, then I like y'all to build off. It says muscles is not strength. Muscles is not strength. If you want to develop muscles, go to the gym. If you want to develop strength, character, and perseverance, that comes from God. And as you see, I put down there, my son keeps me in the gym working on my muscles, but I keep God before him so that he develops his strength in him. And that's what I'd like for us to kind of address for a minute, the difference between strength and muscles, because the world just wants you to have muscles, and muscles is just for flexing and and all that for showing off. I remember recently, and you gotta remember this. I think we were helping one of your neighbors put in hot water heater or something like that. And he may have had a muscle shirt on, something like that, and we were lifting his hot water heater, and he said, "Man, these muscles just for just for show. This ain't for lifting." And I remember telling him,
Who said that?
He did.
Oh, Mike, come on, man.
He said, "Man, these muscles just for show. This ain't for lift." And I am an almost 60-year-old man at that time. I'm squatting down, grabbing it, and lifting it, and all of that stuff. And I say, "So see, that's the difference between me and you.
Right.
Your muscles is for show. Mine is for use." And so, what I'd like for us to look at, talk about for a few moments here tonight, is the difference between a male's muscles and that male having strength, because that comes not from the gym, but from God.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. I as you said, one is for show and the other is for use. And as a man, as the leader of the house, as the leader of the of your family, you're gonna need to use your strength, if you will. If you got something that just shows, and there's a lot of other things. Obviously, muscles is what we're using, but if you got money, you got a nice vehicle, you got a good career and all these other stuff, but you don't really have the, we just talked about a little bit off air, people making all this money, but they doing things immoral with their spouse and all this other stuff. You can't necessarily lead or show true character and integrity and develop that in someone else if you don't have it, because you so much of you're so entangled with what I'm gonna show somebody.
Right.
Man, I got all this going on for
Yeah.
me, man. But the truth of the matter, you don't.
Yeah.
Your family is struggling.
Yeah.
Your son is probably, don't know what an actual man is, because he thought that, my dad had all this stuff going on for himself and whatnot. So I thought that those key words, show and use. Those two words was critical when it comes to the difference of the strengths, one, and I don't have any muscles, so I'm like, man, I gotta.
You got some. Yeah, all of us got muscles. It may not be developed.
They hit for sure. So, but yeah, that's what I'll say on that, man.
See, Ephesians 6 and 10, then I want you to jump in on this, Mike. It says, "Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might." Again, so do you understand what I'm saying? The world tells males to show your muscles. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. The flexing stuff. But the Bible, God tells us to what? He says, man, to show strength. And that strength, that perseverance and all those things, that comes from what? From God.
Yeah.
See, the world just wants us to flex. But God wants us to, show, use that strength that we have. One thing, and I say this because I know you know this. We're talking about Samson, and I think I've heard you talk about this on maybe one of our podcasts, Mike, before. Samson, the strongest man in the Bible. Everybody, when they draw pictures of Samson, they draw him as this man chiseled with the broad shoulders like mine, small waist like mine.
Samson was on swole.
Okay, I'm being here. But I mean, they show Samson as this chiseled dude and, just walking and muscles, and truth of the matter is he's not. He wasn't. Samson was a little pot-bellied dude. He probably was a 36-inch waist or something like that. And, he just was he's a regular dude. But when you read the text, it wasn't his flex. It wasn't his muscles. When you read the story, guess what blessed him? It was the strength that he would be empowered with. And so, in a sense, we should be Samsons. We all trying to be Hercules, but we should be Samson because we don't have to have that physical flexing appearance, but we should have that inner strength that empowers us from God. So what do you say to that?
To speak on the way that you were saying it, I was sitting here trying to think you're right. I mean, the world, the way they want us to flex our muscles is, and I guess it's on everything that we see. It's more so, if you disrespect me, you're gonna deal with me. And I personally still have that issue. But more so,
It ain't worth it, Mike. It ain't worth it, Mike.
I will be praying for you.
But God wants us to show our strength and holding back and letting it go. Like he wants us to show it. Come on now, y'all know the word I'm looking for. Not when I say hold back, like
perseverance, long suffering.
But also
show restraint.
Show your restraint. God wants us to show our strength, and in our restraint, we're showing our strength
Yes,
because
sir.
we're letting people that done us wrong go by, and like, you know what, that's more harder than popping off. Because the one thing I hated, if it was at work or my, not this job, not real estate, but my old job, it would be if somebody did me wrong and I did them wrong, even worse, I only reacted. I had to go back and apologize. It was like, because we still got to work together. So as long as I show restraint and don't say nothing, you the only one that got to feel uncomfortable. Like I didn't show it off in front of everybody else in work. So not only do I got to apologize to you, I got to apologize in front of all these folks I didn't showed off in front of. So it's, it's kind of going back to the love thing. It just kept killing me. Man, a lot of young men, and I'm not all cultures, one, it takes the man being in the home, so to know what love is. Mm-hmm. But a lot of these men, even though they don't tell each other they love them, like they mean it. Like, I know tons of guys. They'll be like, man, I'll die for him. And literally, they go ride together. They do things they shouldn't be doing, shoot or whatever. You gotta love somebody if you go ride with them and die for them. Like just straight up, that ain't just my boy.
This might be the last ride.
Like we going out to go to war, in sorts, and truly that is love. It might be the wrong love, but we can do that and not tell each other we love each other.
That's loyalty.
Loyalty. Yeah.
That's loyalty. There's a difference between loyalty and love, and there you cannot have love apart from God. Mm-hmm. So I just I got to kind of come here right now. You cannot have love apart from God because God is love, but you can be loyal to a fault. Mm-hmm. You can be a sinner and yet still be loyal to another sinner, and I think that's what you see in that. You see more loyalty than you see love. Yeah. I love what you said though. Restraint. The world wants to see restraint. God wants to see strength. I'm gonna deal with that one day. I love that. That was a good one right there.
Mike Boston Jr. dropping major keys.
Yeah.
All right. So I do got a question for you.
Okay.
Society shows that sticking with the muscle versus strength.
Okay.
It seems kind of like what Darius was saying. We show a lot of things on social media. I'm driving this, I'm flying. The world tells us to have the muscles for show and not even deal with the inner strength. Mm-hmm. How did we get there as far as putting, the show ahead of, God and the inner man?
Yeah, everything around us, and this is going to be that first one that's on your paper here. Every man that God has given me to disciple that's come through our church, they know this. If the husband cares more about making money and advancing his career than he does about the eternal destinies of his wife and children, then the family will soon show his effects of his idolatry of work and success, and so-called going after the so-called good life. And I think what happens is everything around us pushes us and describes a good life for us. And so you have men who think that if I bring home the paycheck, I've done my job. And the truth of the matter is,
Nah, it's more than that.
it's way more than that. You know, every man ought to have at least 2 jobs. And when I say that, physically able, you go to one to the world, but then when you come home, you got to punch in another clock at home.
Right.
You come home and go to work.
Yeah.
But men, the world promotes, if I provide for you, I'm a man. And when I say provide, money, home, roof, and all of that,
Right.
then I'm a man. And those are the things that leads us to not successful marriages or successful relationships. But actually, those things pull us away from God because we keep defining me being good to you by way of what I give you materially and not, spiritually. Yeah.
Did you have something, Darius?
No, I don't.
okay.
That was good. By the way.
You had that look on your face, brother. But I want to stick with that the man and the career. And I was reading something, and it was to the effect of we have more men that are career men versus men with careers, and how it's actually hurting the family, because if you spend 40, 60, 80 hours a week at work, and what's left for your kids, what's left for your wife. So how, as a pastor, and we're going to move into pastor mode, where do we start to fix that?
That also kind of lends itself to just think of this. Okay, so you have a man who's out and see, when we go with the 40 hours, we like to say 40 hours a week. But you got to remember, first of all,
I don't have traffic.
Come on, okay. First of all, I had to get up to get myself dressed.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so that's 1 hour. Then you got an hour and a half worth of traffic. Okay, that's 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
To go to a job to work 8 hours.
And actually, it's 8 hours, but you got an hour lunch, so
Okay, all
so
right.
really 9 hours at the job.
So that's 11 and a half hours. And then hold it, you still ain't made that hour and a half drive back
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
All right, so that's 13 hours. And
Yeah.
then you need that 1 hour of decompression when you get home.
Right.
That's 14. Do you understand what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say? When you get to pulling all this together, man, just working a 40-hour-a-week job.
Yeah,
Man, we take so much. And don't get me wrong, man, I'm supposed to work and all that.
Right.
But when you do that and then you multiply that with the fact that now the wife works and she's away from the family too, the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Now our children are left with how many hours of parenting, of rearing, of caring, of experience, of communicating. How
Yeah.
many hours a day are they left with? And you know what happens. Come on, y'all. We get home, then we try to get them into bed by
Yeah.
8:30. You just got home at 7:15.
yeah,
And you try to get them into bed by, so you giving your children, an hour and a half a day, Monday through Friday.
yeah.
You've literally
7 hours a week.
Man.
Yeah. Wow.
And then we wonder what's wrong with society. Well, gentlemen, God didn't design it like that.
Yeah.
And I know this is where I'm going to probably get in trouble.
We're trying to get you in trouble. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
see you trying to lead me into that. This is where I'm going to get in trouble. Matter of fact, I raised my daughter. I rather didn't raise my daughter to be like a man.
Yeah.
That term, my Louisiana tongue won't allow me to say it, but it's egalitarian, egalitarianism. My daughter understands that as a woman, she has a different role to fulfill than a man. We live in a society today that says that's not true. The woman that I'm responsible for knows that when I speak, I'm not talking about worth or value, but rather about function. Because when I get to talking about this, people get to think I'm diminishing the value of a woman or the worth of a woman. And if you know me, you know that's not what I'm talking about. As I said even last week in a statement, when you really think about it, God took the man from the ground, the dirt. But when you read about what he did for the woman, he fashioned her. That word in his Hebrew term literally means he paid close attention to details to make certain that every aspect of her, fulfilled what the man that he created from the dirt was missing. So he didn't create the woman from the dirt. The man came from the dirt, which says to me, the woman probably has more value than the man. But then it lends itself over there. I think in the New Testament, you understand that the man he is designed to be the authority of the home, but the woman who is designed to be the influencer of the home through the children, through how she serve her husband, through how she lead the family, through the daughters she raised, through the boys and all of this type of stuff. Think about this, she literally has a greater impact on society by her role of being an influencer to the family than the father has with the authority.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Even though the man has the authority, I want to make sure I'm clear on that. The mother, according to the text, the Bible in Timothy, she has a greater influence, even though the man has the authority. And God so designed it like that. So I make sure that women at our church, and certainly the women in my life, my princess, what I call my queen, my wife, my princess, which is my daughter-in-law, and my duchesses, which is my granddaughters, that's what I call them, They understand that I'm not speaking against the worth of the woman. I'm speaking against what? The function, the role. It's different by design. When you read Genesis, he designed them different. And Satan came in, he got them to switch roles, and as a result of switching roles, now you got me out here now.
I'm gonna let you wing out there, flap around a little bit. Go ahead, but you handled it though.
As a result of the switching of roles, that's how the family got fractured and divided, and because the roles got switched, Cain ended up killing Abel. It went down because. So anyhow, I don't believe. I didn't raise my daughters and even my granddaughters now when I talk to them to go out there and try to be equal to this man in that. And I know the world promotes that. I just want her to know her role as a woman. Society is skewing the lines where these days many are no longer raising girls to be mothers or women. And then I wrote an article about this, but rather the culture is insisting that we raise, watch this, men like women. And I'm not talking about in, sexual proclivities or trans. I'm not talking about that. But society is really insisting that these days we literally raise men like women who are biologically capable of having and raising children on their own. We got this.
So where do you?
I want to say something before I get into this about the good life, guys. Here's in quotations. When you just added up all of those hours of working and how much time we spend away, not me personally, but men that have kids spend away from their family chasing the good life, and then if you got your spouse doing the same thing, really is it the good life? You know what I mean? When you really sit back and think about it, the thing that we really, really chase, the generation that we are creating, that was something I was thinking about as you were talking about that. But so the biblical manhood here.
Don't leave that so fast. Yeah. Here's the thing: when we find the answer to the questions he just stated, it's almost too late.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? If you went this many years without doing what you're supposed to do, and now your children have a different perspective or a skewed perspective of fatherhood and motherhood, and then they go into their discovery of fatherhood and motherhood with the skewed view of fatherhood and motherhood. Right. Do you understand? I'm not saying
you said if you have 1 degree, a couple generations.
man, you can't, if you got a destination to go to in nautical terms, and even if you stay off 1 degree in that ship, you will end up anywhere from 100 to 1,000 miles off from your intended course just by staying off that 1 degree. How many degrees do you think we're off, gentlemen, from what God intended as it relates to male headship, as it relates to men, as it relates to biblical authority? Come on, man, we are raising men like women. You know, we've put the responsibility on them that God placed on us. And in many cases, we've led them to believe that they could handle
They have to
it.
be strong. They have to be strong.
Yeah. I didn't want my daughter to be a man. I wanted my daughter to be a mother, a woman who looked for a godly man. That's you.
I tried.
So let's look at this male headship. I want you to deal with it. And Mike, don't stay over there and be off mic now. It says, although many think it is, male headship is not a byproduct of the fall of man. See, many people think that because Adam sinned, you know, the fall of man, that's how now, you know, Eve is supposed to now, you know, fall under his leash. And that is so far from the truth, because that happened in Genesis 3. But the real truth is that male headship comes from the fall, before the fall, because if you read Genesis 2 and 23, and these are the points that, if you don't mind, Darius, I'd like you to read that beginning right there. Those are the, you know, people say because of the curse of man being over woman is because of the fall, and that's not true. God gave man male headship before the fall. And so if you don't mind, read those 5 points in that statement after that.
Okay. Point number 1, that the woman was made after the man.
That tells you that the man had headship because she was made after the man. Go ahead.
Number 2, the woman was made for the man. I will make him a helper suitable for him.
Think about that. Highlights on the word. God said, I will make her for him. That tells you male headship. Go ahead.
That the woman was made from the man.
Okay. That lends itself again to male headship. Go ahead.
That the woman was brought to the man like the animals Adam named.
Okay, let me make sure we're clear on this because somebody could misunderstand that. But God literally paraded the animals before Adam, and Adam named the animals. Now, just for clarity, because I know sometimes I have Bible critics on here, he didn't name every individual species. He named categories of animals, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So when he named the wolf and the dog, you understand what I'm saying? It was the category of wolves. And he didn't, you know, when he named the dinosaurs, you understand what I'm saying? You know, that's why it says creeping thing, crawling thing, all that. He named the categories. But to show that he had dominance over them, God brought them to him for him to name. You got that?
Yeah.
Okay, now remember that. Go ahead.
Number 5, that the woman was named by the man.
Just like Adam named those that he was supposed to have rule over. You know, the Bible tells in Genesis, you are to rule over. Okay, go ahead.
This shows a rule and authority, naming, just as early in Genesis 2. Truth of the matter is Adam named her twice, once woman and then Eve.
See, he had that. You know how you got that little sweet name for your gal. You know what's yours? I heard you. Too sweet to be meek or something. What did you say?
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet like Monique.
Yeah.
Oh, look at y'all.
Introduction on
Mike, look at all this cupcake going on.
Yeah.
Look at all this cupcake.
So
Right here.
all of us got, you know, we got that name, but then we got that name. You know what I'm saying? And,
Nah, I got no name.
you ain't
Yeah.
got no name.
No.
Okay.
He's
all
like,
right.
I don't know where y'all got that.
Keep
from.
living. You're gonna get one. Yeah, you're gonna get one. But so he had that woman name and then Eve, of course. Read on. And this is very important right here.
My wife is not a second-class citizen in our relationship, but as her husband, I have the lead role in helping her become everything that God has purposed for her, just as Christ, who is the head of the church, did for his bride. Ephesians 5:23-30. If someone argues with this, their differences are not with me; they are with God.
So from Scripture, ask your questions now, because from Scripture I just showed you God. The woman was made after the man. She was made for the man. She was made from the man. God brought her to the man. He named her like he did all of the animals and all that. And then in Ephesians in the New Testament, the man is told of his responsibility that he has for the wife. And we keep defining the man as if he get up, go to work, bring home a paycheck, pay the house note, car notes, insurance, and get the kids off to college.
Yeah.
And that's how we define the man.
Yeah.
No. And we keep passing this on generation after generation, and you wonder how we got to where we are today.
Yeah.
So somebody has to stop, drop the anchor, and reset and say what biblical headship is.
Yeah.
Again, God defined the woman's contribution over the family and her influence to the family as actually having more benefit, if you will.
How did it get so far away from that though? Because right now, if you ask, if you can say, hey, look, you have a great benefit at the house, you have a great benefit raising the kids, but somehow it still comes off as something negative.
Yeah.
As if you can't go out there and go get it.
Yeah.
Society.
Yeah. Yeah.
Society.
Yeah. And but the devil, Satan, I like to
Yeah.
tell who the real enemy is.
Yeah.
Because see, when we say we blame it on society, like, yeah, I'm gonna find that society. And
Yeah.
Man, what society live?
Because we blame it on society, we claim it on movements, the feminist movement, like all of these. We're looking for so many names to call it, but
And boy, when I find that society, that culture. You let me find culture.
Yeah,
I'm gonna kill culture when I
Yeah.
find culture.
yeah,
And you remember that movie, Mike? I remember years ago, and I keep forgetting the name of it. But the little short man who played the Godfather, a little short man. Come on, he's real short. Not the Godfather. He played Scarface.
oh man, I can't think of
That guy, Scarface guy.
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm about to Google it.
But he plays this movie, and I forget the name of the movie, but he says a role in this movie. He says, one of the greatest tricks that Satan has ever played is to make...
Oh, the devil's advocate.
That's
Oh
it
my
right.
gosh.
That's it right.
Yes.
He said, one of the
that
greatest...
good? Is that-
man,
Oh, man.
you gotta look at that movie.
Mike, you got to see that movie.
But the line that got
It'll
me
mess
in
you
that
up.
movie was one of the greatest tricks that the devil ever performed was to make you think that what? He
didn't
doesn't
exist.
exist.
Yeah,
And so he got us trying to look for society.
Mike, look it up tonight.
He got us looking for, watch this now, he got us trying to find culture. Watch this now,
Yeah.
he got us looking for social justice.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, did I say it? Yes, I did.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I've been telling y'all for years, y'all, it's not a skin thing.
Same thing.
It's a sin thing. We're trying to go after the person while the enemy, the real enemy, sits over there and just like, because now you think it's them when it's actually him.
Yeah.
And that's the same person who's trying to destroy relationships and marriages. Because if he can mess the man up.
And you know what? In that movie, that is exactly what he did. This was a clean cut lawyer from the South.
Come on now.
Got an opportunity in I think in New York, and wife, he's married. His wife just wants to have kids and be a great wife at home, and he just wants to do right, and just slowly but surely, devil just was an advocate and was just all in his head. Got in her head at one point.
And that's what happens. So we end up going after the wrong
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that movie tonight.
enemy.
Oh, my goodness.
We end up thinking that the enemy is egalitarianism, the enemy is social justice, the enemy is all these other things, when the truth of the matter is the person who divided the home is destroying the home, and the home represents the family represents society represents culture and all these things. So it starts with just between the man knowing his role. and living up to that expectation. And if you can do that, man, you'll be outside of having the protection and the protection of God. You also honor and bless God, and God, you know, he protects those marriages and families, you know, who surrender themselves to him. And man, if we don't know this, we're going to think it's our job to go through life making enough money to live in the right neighborhood, you know, to send our kids to the right college and to retire good. You know, and if we got those things, man, we a man.
So I got a question for the fellas here. So both of you guys are, you know, handling your business, building firms, right? How do you guys stay, you know, with all of this stuff going on, you know, not necessarily chasing a good life, but with all the things going on in life, how do you guys stay accountable, biblically, you know, in your marriages and stuff like that? Because I think that's one thing, and that was another reason I really wanted these guys to be on here, so we can, you know, delve into the accountability side of it. Because again, Mike, you got to show some homes. You got to show some homes to some women. You got to show, you know, homes late at night. You like, how do you stay accountable? Same thing with you, Darius. You know, you out there handling finances. How do you stay accountable in knowing that, you know, both of your wives are at home, you know, taking care of the household?
Yeah. Truly, I got to go with that conversation me and you had, you know, with me being married, you know, I can't, again, sometimes people get off work at 6 o'clock at night, you know, at daylight savings time.
Yeah.
It's dark by 6 o'clock, you know, so
Yeah.
it's me and another woman in a house by ourselves, you know. And at that point, that goes with that accountability, not just having a brother accountability type thing, accountability with my wife and telling her, no, hey, I'm meeting this client. This is where we're going to be.
Yeah.
This is the times we have to go see, because again, like this is my bread. This is my money maker.
Yeah.
You know, this is how I feed my family. And I can't sit there and break that trust, because then I can't feed them no more. You know, because my wife at that point, she gonna be on showings with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Oh well, we both got a showing today at 12 o'clock. You know, so I mean,
That's where she gonna get that other name.
So,
Okay, sweetie. Okay, honey.
So, and that, you know, it takes accountability with that, but it takes somebody telling me like, hey, Mike, you know, you need to have a calendar that is shareable for your wife, that she can see and that she can know that this is where you're gonna be. You know, and more so for me, I don't like nobody know where I'm at. You know, that's why I don't like the what's that
The location.
Yeah, that's not. I don't have that on my phone at all. Like that's always turned off.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, in a dangerous sense, you know, I mean, it is like she needs to know where I'm at. You know,
You could be dead in the ditch somewhere.
exactly. And two, it keeps that accountability, because if she know, if I even if she don't ever pop up, I know she know where I'm at. You know, you gotta keep yourself together. Like, you know, she could pop up on me. So, you know, that keeps that accountability to, like, you know what, do right, handle right. Because
If you're handling your business, you ain't got nothing to worry about.
exactly.
What about you, Darius?
Yeah. Well, if you follow me on any social media platform, I talk about my wife a lot. And I do that also in person. So if I'm meeting with let's say a single mom, and we talking over some financial plans or something, I'm going to reference my wife 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah.
You know, so she can, any idea she may have, she can dismiss that. But also, like Mike mentioned, you know, I include my wife in a lot. Accountability, you know, she does go with me sometimes. But for the most part, if I get a phone call, you know, I'm answering that sucker on speakerphone. You know, I want her to hear what's going on too. You know, it's not no funny business going on. But also, so as I'm talking about my wife, I'm also promoting my wife. My wife has a business as well. So I'm like, man, you might need to get something in these blankets, you know. I'm sure. So I'm basically highlighting my wife 60, 70% of the time that we actually speaking. You know what I mean? So, and I told my wife this at one point, and maybe Pastor can, you know, guard this a little bit if I get out of bounds. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to attractive women. They're there. I mean, unless you're Stevie Wonder. I mean, they're they are. So,
No, Ray Charles can feel it.
It's old. No, throw her back.
no, they're all there. But I told my wife this. I say I would never put myself in a situation that would tempt me to sin. I won't be in a situation where you don't know about it.
Right.
Like I'm gonna let you know about this and that. Now, go back to what I'm saying about attractive women. You can see them, you can acknowledge it. Like, oh, that's a pretty woman. But where do you go after that?
Exactly.
Is everything. You know. So, but
That's a great answer, by the way.
Yeah. So what basically what I would say, man, is I involve my wife in a lot.
Yeah.
She knows, she know I ain't getting home till late tonight. And
Yeah.
she knows where I'm at now and all that stuff like that. So, so that's what I would say. Kind of borrowing a little bit from Mike over here.
But see, the world says, man, she don't need to know nothing.
I was just about to say, man, that's
Well, look.
Darius. You talk like a sucker.
Well, look, I want to
That's-
hit on that. I want to
And
hit
listen,
on.
most of the time that's a single
Mike,
dude.
yeah, Mike, you a
Somebody that been
sucker, man.
divorced 5 times.
Right.
Man, I ain't telling my gal. I'm a grown man, man.
Man, look, my wife and I, like I said, I've been with my wife since I was 17. My cousin told me, don't tell that girl you love her. I told her. Things that maybe I messed up. I told her.
Yeah.
He would be that one that say, man, don't you ever do all this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Don't tell her where you at and all this. Now, again, he probably ain't gonna see this, but yeah. Divorced 1, 2, 3 times. You know what I mean? So that's just crazy, man.
And then finally, as a pastor, I've known you for over half my life, right? As a pastor, how do you keep yourself accountable?
Wow, man. That's one of the things I did, and we do it from time to time. Actually, someone just kind of made reference of that to me. Yeah, out of the last meeting I just left about an hour or so ago. But anyhow, put myself out there. You guys know, and I know this is going to get out there. I don't meet with women alone. I do not meet with a woman alone, period. I've been and people say, how do you do that? You've been past church. I do it wisely. The Bible tells you how to do that.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me and a woman, I don't care what the situation is, to go behind a door with the door shut. Now, I know there are men and pastors who will go like, I don't put myself in that position.
Yeah.
And I started our church like that. So if I have to counsel with a young lady or woman in our church or whatever like that, then, my wife is going to be in it. If she feels like, she doesn't even want my wife to be in that situation, then what we do is we go meet in the sanctuary. She'll be on a row. I'll be on a row. We don't sit on the same row. All right. And I'll have a leader or someone sitting in the sanctuary, observing us talk. But I keep myself, from that. My wife know that. The women at our church know that. If a visiting woman come to our church and she looks like she's trying to be a little too, comfortable with me, the ladies at our church know to protect me from that. That's something that I just inbred it, and have taught over the years because I don't want to be in that position. Now, that sounds weak. That sounds crazy. That sounds stupid. But guess what? I'm 24, working on 25 years, and ain't one accused me of anything.
Yeah.
Because I keep that in the forefront. We joke all the time when, me and my wife, thank God we've had the privilege to travel. We've been to Waikiki. We've been to,
I've been everywhere.
But let's say we were somewhere, I forget, we were at some beach. And long story short, when I go to the beach, I wear what I call my wraparound shades. And we joke about it because, the problem, as you said, is not seeing it. It's what you do with it after you see it.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing that he says, man. I do my best to let my wife know you the one, and around all these other women, I let them know she's the one.
Right.
I invest in her, and I think that's the man's responsibility, just like Christ is the bride of the church. Christ is the groom and the church is the bride. Then as he treats her, that's how we ought to care, for our wives and put her. Listen, the church, which is the bride of Christ, is the only thing that Christ is going to take away from the earth. Just think about what I just said. Everything else is going to be destroyed. Everything else that we people live for, to build, to have, and all of that is going to be destroyed. The only thing that's going to be spared is the church, which is Christ's bride. That's the value of her. And y'all, we should have that same mindset as it relates to our bride and our wives, the value that she possesses and what we are willing to do for her. I want to inject something before we get to something else, because listen, and this is something I wrote, a lot of people enter into a marriage where they feel like they need to change the person that they're going to marry. Okay. And I say, listen, if you go into the marriage thinking that you need to change them, don't marry them. Do not marry them if you feel like you need to change them. If you are already married and then you're trying to change the person that you're married to, again, that's the waste of good time. Listen, stay married. This is my counsel. Do what you're supposed to do in your biblical role, and then trust God for the process, for the part that you cannot do. See, the question, and this is another point about biblical manhood as it relates to marriage, is not will your marriage work? And this is what I want y'all to talk about for a few minutes. And this is the question that people say, will the marriage work? That's not the question, because according to Ephesians 5, the real question is, will you work at your marriage? Right. See, we keep taking the easy one out, well, the marriage ain't gonna work. Will the marriage work? No, the marriage working ain't the issue. For the male is, will you work at your marriage in the way that we've just mentioned here tonight? Uplifting your bride, encouraging your bride, all of that, 50-50 stuff and all of that. No, there wasn't no 50-50 with Christ. Christ said he's the head of it. He took responsibility. He did all that. He didn't say, all right, I need you to do this and go get a job, and you bring in this amount of money. If you want this kind of house, all that, well, maybe you need a smaller house. Because if the bigger house makes it where you can't raise a family, then just get a smaller house. If the nicer car means you can't ever see each other, then just get a nice car instead of a nicer car, if you understand what I'm saying. And so we keep putting these values on these things that take us away from the family, and it takes a biblical man to say, you know what, that's not important. The importance is the stability of my wife and her being comfortable, because my wife got to be comfortable around a lot of women. You understand what I'm saying? Right. As a pastor, going back to that role, some women come to the church looking for in their pastor what they don't see in their husbands, and my wife has to deal with that. So I got to make certain that she understands, I don't care how many look to me for what, you're the only one for me. Yeah. And that should not just be the disposition of a pastor. That should be the disposition of every man.
Right. So going back to your, will you work at it? Yeah. Step one is, before you get married, should be biblical counseling.
Yeah. I won't marry if I don't counsel. That's my rule. I don't have a fee. Yeah. I do not have a fee to marry people, but I do have a requirement. If I can't counsel you, I don't marry you. And my counsel is at least 6 sessions with a minimum of at least 2 hours per session. Yeah. So you can't come to me Tuesday and say you want to get married Friday, and I'm doing it. No. Yeah. They got other places that do that. Yeah. I can't do that. So you're going to get anywhere from about 18 to 24 hours of counseling between me and my wife before I marry you. Right. Now, I got to tell you, can I tell you my stats?
Yeah, go ahead. What's your stats?
All right. Here's my stats. Me and my wife, we looked it up the other day. Yes, this is the stats, y'all. I've married, in the 36 years of pastoring, I've married 114 couples. 114 couples. All right? Are you ready for this? Yeah. 111 of them stayed married to the person they married. And that got skewed because one couple that we married divorced and then they remarried. So I couldn't count that.
So you got what? You said 114.
114 couples that we've married, and 111 of the 14 are still married to the people that we married them to.
Wow. 88.8% or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my.
I don't know what those percentages are.
I'm just saying. What you bat 97% here? You bat 97.3%.
If you remember, Mike, a couple of weeks ago we married Jerick and AD. I told him don't mess up my numbers. Don't mess up my numbers. And I don't say that because of me. I say because of the intentionality that I put with the male headship. I say with the intentionality that I teach the woman her role,
Yeah.
you know, from a biblical perspective,
Right.
you know, and I let them know if I can't say in the marriage vows that you're going to obey him, then I'm the wrong guy that you asked to marry, because I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to say, matter of fact, I wrote something here, and I think it merits being said too, but there's not a woman that if she knows that she's marrying a guy who is surrendering himself to God, that she won't surrender herself to him. I wrote that on one of these notes, but if a woman knows that her man is going to surrender himself to following Christ, then she won't have a problem with following him.
While you find that, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so the ongoing work that needs to take place. Do you believe in having a refresher, like follow up counseling? You know, maybe every, you know, even though things are going okay, you know, just a checkup. How do you go about doing things like that?
Yeah, that kind of lends itself to something that actually my son now in the ministry,
Yeah.
we were talking about, you know, prior to them even coming to Conquerors, they had a marriage ministry that they were doing. And, you know, we try to, and I told them this year, I want to have just what you said. I want to have a follow-up conference where we bring in those couples of the people that we've married over the year and let them be a part of this, and then just have discussion and see kind of where they are. Tune up, you know, just bring you in, you know, check the tires, you know, check
your engine light's not on.
Yeah, you know, just
Yeah.
hey man, just you know, do some of that, and then let you hear from some other people, and then send you back out there, you know, to be on display in the world, and that comes from those regular. Listen, we check everything else out. Why don't we check our marriages out to see where they are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you find it, Mike? I know you were showing me something, but I literally stated.
I think you got it on the page under Genesis 2:18.
Okay.
23. That second one under that, biblical man. Jesus is equal to God. The Father, in essence, he's the fully God. But it says all women equal to all men. In essence, value before God. But women under the ultimate authority of their husband is in marriage. Like it or not, men are created to lead, although many fail at doing it in God's way. I have never met a woman whose husband was truly following Christ, not perfectly, but persistently, saying that she had a problem with submitting to him as he continued to come under the authority of Christ. Be one and watch God work in that relationship and family.
So read that line again. I haven't found it, but I've never started that again. What it says? Yeah, I've never met a woman whose husband was truly following Christ, not perfectly, but persistently. I've never heard her say she had a problem with submitting to him as he continued to come under the authority of Christ. So again, a woman obeying or submitting to her husband, if he is submitting himself to the authority of Christ, I've never heard a woman in all my years say, I'm not following him because he's following Christ. He's loving me like Christ loved the church. He's washing me with the word. I don't want that. He's doing this to me. I've never met a woman tell me that she didn't want her husband to lead her biblically. And so when a man leads biblically, he's going to endear his wife. It may take time, but he's going to endear her to him. And that's biblical manhood. You know, understanding our responsibilities, role in the marriage is not just to bring home a paycheck, you know.
So let me say something real quick. I wrote this down earlier in the conversation. We talked about value, you know, and as men, you know, we are visible. You know, we like to see things. You know, we should prove it type of stuff. So we need to see love. And you just mentioned something that sparked it right back up to me. It was oh, come on, D. It was something you mentioned about, you know, it takes time. You know, so in order for us to see something work, you know, a man had to drop his pride, you know, be able to kind of, you know, lead his family biblically, but also he wants to see some things. You know, he wants to see his wife, you know, being more submissive and things like that. I'm thinking about a particular couple as we're talking about this that, you know, my good friend, he was, loving. He was doing.
Let's not drop no names now.
Yeah, I'm not. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But he was loving. But what I'm saying is that, his wife still was doing what she was doing. So basically, what I'm saying is that without seeing it, the value for him wanting to, love biblically, lead biblically, is like, man, is it really worth it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think not even knowing that couple, then that problem was there before they got married. That's not something that popped up afterwards. It probably just displayed itself after they got married, and that's the other reason for counseling, because I get to probe in those areas. I get to ask those questions. I like to ask the question, what's the deal breaker? I like to ask the question, what's the deal breaker? I know you love him, he love you, he fine, you fine right now, but what would right now? Yeah. What would be the deal breaker? What would be you came home, if this had happened, it's a deal breaker. Somebody clothes getting set on fire, what's the deal breaker?
The car's on fire.
Yeah. Something, and so when we talk about those deal breakers, I let them know those are not really deal breakers according to the Bible, but let me show you how the Bible tells us to work with those deal breakers.
Yeah.
And when you can deal with that up front, then you have some kind of understanding of what to do when it happens. For instance, I know this is going to sound weird, but because we live in Texas, we had to do it, I guess, in February. But if you lived in a place where there was ice on the road, all the time, stuff like that, where you had to have chain tires and stuff like that, we don't think of that in Texas. But, they tell you if you go into a slide, if you're in you go, do you know what to do when you go into the slide if you're driving a car? And how do you steer
is that where
it?
you steer the opposite way?
What? See.
But I know that now, but when I'm in the thick of it.
But see, if no one never told you that, you're going to crash. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? You're going to think you're doing the right thing, and actually you're doing the wrong thing, because when you're on that, it's actually the opposite of what you would normally think you would do
Yeah.
to, steer your car on an ice road.
Right.
And so if you don't tell somebody that prior to it, then they're going to crash. You know what I'm saying?
Just imagine how many couples have not heard that.
The statistics that scare me is not those in the world, but there are more people who are supposedly Christian that are divorcing now than those who are non-Christians. That's the stats now. More people who are supposedly professed Christians are divorcing over those who don't even profess to be Christians. What does that say?
Yeah.
And I tell you what it says, biblical manhood. We don't understand our roles, and we're trying to get people to function in roles. And who's responsible?
Yeah.
Who's responsible? We're responsible for it. We've got to take that responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is the last one here.
Okay.
The real gauge of a mature man
Oh, yeah.
is a man who is firm and steadfast in God's truth.
Yeah.
Can you just bring us home with that one, please?
Yeah. The real gauge of a real man, Ephesians 4:13 through 15. I have to read that for us. Ephesians 4:13 through 15. It says this: until we all attain the unity of faith, of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a mature man, to the measure of the stature which belongs to the fullness of Christ. As a result, we're no longer to be children tossed here and there by waves and carried by every wind of doctrine, by the treachery of men, by the craftiness in deceitful scheming. But speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in all aspects unto him who is the head, even Christ. And the discussion we had here was the real gauge of a mature man is who is firm and steadfast in God's truth. Now, I want y'all to tell me. It's the one that begins with Ephesians 4:13 and 15. If you see it on your paper, it says Ephesians 4:13 and 15. Think about that. What does the world say the gauge of manhood is? Because I got what the Bible says.
You want the real? You want the real?
Yeah, the real gauge of mature man is a man who is firm and steadfast, what? In God's truth.
Yeah.
This means he is disciplined, he's knowledgeable, he's anchored, and he understands the truth of God, and he is what? Devoted to it. He also speaks the truth in love and grows up in all aspects of him, which is the head of Christ. So the real gauge of a man is a man who Christ is his role model. You know what I'm saying? Who is your role model? It took me until, a few years ago, this is what, 2021, I think in 2018, I finally had the courage to say to our church, to the men in our church, hey, follow me, imitate me. I've been pastoring the church at that time probably about 19 years.
Yeah.
It took me about 19 years.
So what did you use instead before that? You just be Christ-like?
Yeah. But then I understood that, you know what? If I'm being the man I'm supposed to be, then follow me. Just like if you ask me where we're going somewhere that you've never been, and I've been there.
Yeah.
And hey, man, get in the car, follow me. And I'm certain of where I'm going.
Yeah.
It took me to understand that wasn't arrogance, but that actually was humility. Because what I'm saying now is follow me as I follow Christ. And if you're following me as I'm following Christ, if you're trying to serve your wife the way I'm trying to serve my wife, if you're trying to lead her, wash her with the word, be all, serving to her and all those type of things, if you're doing that, then guess what? I'm doing it because I see the word says do it. You're doing it because you see me doing it, but you're really not following me. You're following me as I'm following Christ. So when I got the courage to ask men to follow me or to imitate me, I was letting them know as long as I'm imitating Christ and following Christ, then follow me. But the day you see me not imitating him or following Christ, then I'm telling you to quit following me. And so I put myself out there basically saying, here's what the Bible said. Look at Ephesians 5. Here's what I'm going to be doing with my wife. Now follow me with that. And man, I can't tell you the joy that I have seen in that in our ministry and watch what it has done with some of the men, millennial men, some of the, older men in our church and to watch them serve their wives now. And I'm not saying I'm responsible for that, but because I see how Christ served the church, that's how I try to serve my wife. And I got to tell you, to watch the leaders in that church serving their wives in that way now, opening the door for their wives and stuff like that. And man, I just got to go on and say it. I know he doesn't mind me saying it. We say it every time we go somewhere in manhood. You know what I'm finna talk about, Mr. Sonny. We have a gentleman in our church, one of the elder gentlemen in our church. A few years ago, he had to get his leg amputated. And you can't beat him serving. You know what I'm talking about. You can't. We've got a guy, son. He had an amputee. You cannot beat him serving. I literally mean he outserves many of us, including myself. Well, in one of our men meetings a few years ago, he said, "Reverend Boss, you got me in trouble." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Man, Doris. His wife won't get out the car until he gets out and go around and open the door." Now, you got to understand what I'm saying. Sonny is an amputee, one full leg, the other leg he had to get amputated.
Yeah.
If it's raining, Sonny pulls up to church. He parks the car. He drives.
Yeah.
He gets out with an umbrella. He gets his, crutches together and all that stuff. Walks around to his wife's side of the car.
Yeah.
Opens the umbrella, gets her out the car, brings her in and all the church and all that, gets her out of the rain and all that. And he said, Reverend Boss, it wasn't until everybody see how you open the car for Miss Jenny and stuff like that. So my wife, she won't even get out of the car, even if it's raining, Pastor Boss.
Yeah.
You think, with my condition, when it's raining, she will sit right there. And man, we laugh about it, make joke about this, but that's just one of the small ways that, in me serving my wife, because I watched how Christ served the church, the body of Christ.
Yeah.
And I'm telling guys to follow me. And I'm saying it to you, man, follow me as I follow Christ. So I'm trying to serve my wife as Christ served the church. I'm not trying to tell my wife she's got to earn this and she's got to do that and she's got to do that. When I took the headship, the maleship of it, then I took responsibility to meet her needs. And here's the thing about it. When she see you serving, she's going to realize some of the things that she thought she need were just wants. And she's now going to be satisfied with the needs.
Yeah.
And that's the attention, that's the caring, the washing with the word, that's the knowing that she feel comfortable that when I put my phone down, I'm not, hiding it. I don't have a drop phone. I ain't got a burner phone.
You got the burner.
She knows when I go to the office. She knows I'm not going to be alone with women because I've spent 20 plus years of ensuring her that I don't function like that. And then the benefit from that is, you know what? I trust him. And I tell people all the time, I'm going to trust you until you give me a reason what? Not to trust you.
Yeah.
And I've spent these 35 years now trying to give her a reason to trust me.
Yeah.
And not to trust me. And I believe with all my heart, that's biblical manhood.
Yeah.
Following me as I follow Christ, me serving her as Christ served the church, and not this definition that the world has placed for, men or males.
Right. Yeah, I think you said something years ago, and it probably, I'm pretty sure you said it recently, but just being a man is just not what you're anatomically born with.
Right.
And
That's male.
You're being male, right? And I think that's one thing that society. I think you posed the question: what does being a man look like today? It's you got to have, and I think we talked about it earlier. You have to have muscles. Yeah.
Strength.
We just no. Society's saying
You gotta have
hey,
muscles.
hey man, I just need to have the muscles,
Yeah.
muscles, and that's all you need. But we don't realize there's so much more to it.
And we need the strength of Christ. That's found, we need his strength, in us. And gentlemen, this is not something for somebody 60. I'm looking at you because, we talked about it earlier. Somebody as old as I. Man, this is for the 20-year-old guy that's looking to marry. This is for you guys. This is for the 30-year-old guys.
And that's really what I wanted to, have a diverse group because
We got 3 different generations.
Yeah.
Here, believe it or not. I know you think you with
I mean,
them. I know you think you with them. But
First off, 82, it was the first year of being a millennial.
Okay, all right.
So I am a millennial. I am on the far end of it.
You're so close to being one of me, but you one of them. Okay.
I mean, y'all be judging because the gray hair and the bald head, but don't get it fooled. I am a millennial.
Okay.
All right, I am a millennial.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, just having different aspects of what biblical manhood looks like, from a 60-year-old to 30-year-old to almost a 40-year-old, in your mid 30s, right? 31, early 30s. So having all of those, kids, no kids, married 15 years, married 20,
35.
35? Oh God, I don't know where I got 20 something from. But 35 years, like that's, and the fact that all of these principles, and that's what that's why I like to call them the biblical manhood principles. They apply to all of us, no matter the age, no matter the situation. These are the foundations that I think we as men need to, just start working with. And like you said, Mike, it's a process. It's not. It's this is basic training. That might be the title of this one, right? Basic training, just biblical manhood 101. I don't know, but it might. Do you have anything else on this one here?
The only thing I would say is probably Psalms 128. I would encourage the men to maybe read it because it's a picture of biblical manhood. It begins with a man who has reverence for God and walks in his way. If you can have a man who has a reverence for God and walks in his way, Psalm 128 tells us, then it's going to end with that man's children's children having the peace of God.
Yeah.
And none of you all can understand this right now because I'm a grandfather, thanks to you two guys.
Yeah.
I'm a grandfather. And there is to understand that my pursuit of God can affect my grandbabies. Man, that enough alone should motivate a man to live biblically, because Psalms 128 promises, it says, if a man will have reverence for God and walk in his way, it will end with that man's children's children having the peace of God. Now you're about me almost about to preach now. I want my grandbabies. I want Cammie, Kalea. I know the names of. I want Trinity and Josiah and Zachariah. I want them to have the peace of God. And guess where it begins, Darius? It begins with me having a reverent walk with God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's Psalms 128. What real man wouldn't want that for his family? And I guess that's the last thing I'll say. What real man would not want that for his family, to know that his children's children will have the peace of God because he walked with God?
Yeah.
That's biblical manhood. Man, that's what I promote. And I pray that, no woman felt demeaned or diminished today because it's not value or worth. It's about functionality. And God designed it in such a way that it will give him glory. He has told the woman that when she uses her gifts as an influence for the home, she actually has a greater impact than the man who has authority over the home. Think of that. Yeah. A woman finding her role alongside her husband and rearing her children in a God-fearing way. She has a greater influence. Oh, y'all not understanding what I'm saying. You don't raise. I'm not naming names, but some of these things that have happened in society with the last 10 or 15 years with young boys or young girls or whatever. Who had that highly visible thing. You don't raise defiant children who find themselves disrespecting authority.
Yeah.
I guess I could say it like that, because that mother who has been cared for and washed over the word by her husband has pushed them principles down to her daughters and sons.
Yeah.
And so when they see her submitting to authority in the headship of her husband, it's not hard for her now to go out in the world and submit to authority. I'm not blaming Sandra Bland, if I want to name a name, for being disrespectful, because you know what I say about those particular situations. If a policeman or someone did something, they need to pay. I'm not saying that. But again, listen at what I said, gentlemen, and don't take it to a racial place.
Yeah.
Because I can name a whole bunch of other names. But if they have that view of respect of authority in the home and submission because they've witnessed it between their parents, then they're going to go out and imitate that in the world. And now you have less and less opportunities of those things happening the way they happen. Now, I believe in the providence of God. I believe in the sovereignty of God. I believe that sovereignty of God. I believe that God allows things to happen so that we can learn from them, and see him. And we keep, saying this happened because of that. And I believe, we keep trying to put adjectives on justice, and you don't ever see an adjective on justice in the Bible. You just see justice, and justice is the righteousness of God, what is right. And when we do what is right, even in loving and leading our families, we're going to see God's blessings upon them. That's what Psalms 128 is about.
Yeah.
So when we do it, so I need you to understand something. Y'all can help my great grandbabies. You understand what I'm saying? Walk in the peace of God because you saw the benefit.
Yeah.
Of leading your family in the reverence and the peace of God. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna leave it right there, Darius. Man,
hey man, I'm telling you, come up in there.
I see you, man. I see you, man. Appreciate you guys. Again, this is biblical manhood. This is I'm thinking this summer we wanna dip our toe back into this just to move the needle a little further, just a little bit more. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you would, please like, subscribe. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Android, YouTube, Facebook. We'll put all of the information in the description below. So, guys, it's Mike Boston, Garden of Truth.
And we're doing it how?
Straight out of Scripture. All right,
man.
All right,
Thank you.